Hey there, we're going to go ahead and begin because start time is 1 o'clock and it's 1 o'clock, so if I'm anything, I'm on time. My name is Amanda Priest. For those of you I haven't met personally, I am the Assistant Director of the Scopes Office. Who in your mentioned the Scopes Office? Everybody put your hands up. Candace is across the waiting area from me. My office is right across from hers. We do all of your, advising and help you get your classes set up and take care of all the things that are good and some of the things that are not so good. But my main focus is the clinical portion of your experience here at the College of Education and Professional Development. So a little bit about me and why I'm qualified to do this. I taught in Wayne County schools for 12 years, taught lots of different things, taught elementary for the most part, taught math, high school math, taught traveling PE. So I've just had my toe in just about everything. But I have lots of connections with our schools here in Cavaline, Wayne County, Putnam County. We place in Mason County, Logan County, Mingo County. We have students all over the state, pretty much. We have a lot of different programs and a lot of really cool things that are happening here at the College of Ed. So this is really, for the most of you, this is your first clinical experience, correct? Okay, so why we have this orientation is to just give you basically a little list of do's and don'ts and what to expect when you go in the classroom, because being a student in a classroom and then being a teacher in a classroom are completely different. I think we all know that. And we're going to talk about some things that are really important and that will keep you on track to be successful in our program. Okay, so for today, oh, great, love this. Let's see here. Cancel. All right, so on today's agenda, we're going to talk about what the level 1 clinical experience is, the expectations for the clinical, your placements, your first day, how to use live text to track your clinical, an AdMe4 update, and then I'll take any questions like for the good of the group, and then if you have individual questions that just pertain to you, we can talk after our orientation. Okay, so what is the level 1? It is a code requisite that goes with EDF 201, so everyone in here should be registered for EDF 201 and in that class. It is 35 hours of general observation in a content-specific classroom. That means if you are elementary ed major, you're going to be in an elementary classroom. If you are wellness, you will be in a PE or health classroom from K through 12. It could be elementary, middle, or high. Same goes for music or art. And if you are content-specific, social studies, math, English, biology, chemistry, general science, you will be placed in either a middle school or a high school that goes with that content area. It is your opportunity to really see real-life classroom situations and real-life teaching. It's your first opportunity for that. And it's your first major clinical experience with our College of Ed. This clinical experience is really important. And I understand that, and I hope you understand that as well, because many of you, maybe, not many of you, after this clinical experience, I think you will know whether this is what you want to pursue, okay? And sometimes we don't like to talk about, well, what if I don't want to do this? No, this is a great opportunity because this is a perfect scenario for you to see whether teaching is really the path you want to take, or if you get into this classroom and you really just dislike everything about this clinical and everything about the clinical experience itself, then it's probably not the best path for you. And then you can come in and we'll have a conversation and we'll get you on the right track, okay? Understand? So you're going to see a lot of real life teaching, real life classroom situations. It says it's 35 hours of general observation. Does that mean that you will just sit with a notebook and just observe? No, probably not. A lot of teachers want you to get involved. If you're in elementary, they may ask you to work with a small group or work with an individual child. They may ask you to help them with some grading. There are all different situations. Please, for no reason, if a teacher asks you to help out in the classroom, do you say, no, thank you, I'm just to observe? All right, that is not going to be a good thing. That's not going to fly. So get involved and make the most of this. And I'm going to tell you little stories along the way today, and we're going to get this over with as quickly as possible. But everything I tell you has really happened. It's really an issue or a problem I've had to deal with, as asinine as it may sound, okay? So just trust me on these things. So as I said, it says 35 hours of general observation. Observation means a lot of different things. 35 hours, a lot of people ask a question about that. Do you have to do it all in 2 weeks? Do you have to do a full day at school? No, that's the beauty of this. It's very flexible and you can fit it in to your schedule and your teacher's schedule, okay? You just have to make the schedule with them and work it out with them in the school. All right, so the expectations. One of the things that we always talk about is the dress code. Our dress code is business casual, and that's what is expected. That means no jeans with holes in them. You will have jeans on special dress down days. A lot of schools will wear jeans on Fridays. A lot of schools wear jeans all the time, but we do not have that expectation for our students. Our students are expected to look nice, and you should be able, if I walked in a classroom, I should be able to tell you apart from the kids in the classroom. That's just a general rule. Many of you who are going to be in secondary schools and in high schools are not much older than these students, correct? So you need to be able to differentiate yourself from them. If you have tattoos or piercings, they shouldn't be visible except for your piercing. That means nose, ear, tongue, tattoos down the arms. If you have tattoos on your arms, you should have sleeves on. That's a rule I inherited. It's not a rule I created. Please just look at the look around your school, okay, and see what the expectations are there. Personal hygiene is also a must. I'm just going to say this one time: shower, brush your teeth, wear deodorant. Do not get your clothes out of the dirty clothes hamper. Look presentable, okay? Every semester, I get this complaint. When it comes to social media and cell phone usage, absolutely no cell phone usage in classrooms. No texting, no talking on phones, no social media. I wouldn't even bring it in the school with me. I know a lot of people use it for a clock. I'm really bad to use it for a clock, or I will just wear a watch all the time. Do not have it out in the classroom, okay? Just trust me on this. Do not accept students as friends or followers on social media sites, because what's the very first thing that if you are in a middle school or high school especially, you're going to go into the classroom and the teacher's going to introduce you, and what's the first thing the kids are going to do? Look you up. They're going to seek you out, and they want to see your pictures and they want to see what you're up to. And I want you to think about this now. If your settings are not on private, they need to be. Are there pictures on your social media account that you would probably not want a prospective employer to see? Some of you, yeah, there are. So make sure everything is marked private. Make sure you do not accept students or students' parents on social media sites. Trust me. Also, do not post about your school that you're placed at, the students, or any situations. Is that understood? That's very basic and it's very to the point. But if you do post something, if you are on Snapchat while you're at school, if you post anything on an Instagram story or anything at all, I will find out. Someone will tell on you and they will call me. I will find out. We have had people dismissed from our program for that. We have had people who have disposition forms for this very thing. We have people who were in student teaching who are not teachers because they were dismissed from student teaching, getting ready to finish because of social media issues. Who reads the paper and just saw, it happened a couple years ago at Huntington High. There was a teacher, they went back in her Twitter account. You guys know what I'm talking about? They found some really unacceptable posts. And then she tried to fight it, and guess what? She lost. You're going to lose every single time. So do not accept parents, do not accept students, and do not post about schools. Understood? Any questions about this at all? Oh, quiet. Okay. Attendance. If you schedule a time to be there, be there. That means if this is not a set schedule clinical, like student teaching is every day, all day, level 2s is every day at a certain block. This is very flexible, and you make this schedule with your teacher or your principal or whoever you're working with. But if you say you are going to be there Monday at 8 o'clock, and you wake up and you're like, oh, God, I really don't want to go. Don't not go. Go. Because what's going to happen is if you do that more than once, they're going to call me and they're going to complain. And then you have a disposition, which we're going to talk more about. And then I'm going to call you and say, sorry, you're not in this clinical anymore. Okay? That means you're going to get a no credit. So, if you're sick, that's one thing. Being sick, I understand. Not feeling good, that's another thing. I always say this, I wake up every morning and I don't feel good. Who woke up this morning and didn't feel good? I need to see some hands, because I know there's most people in here. They woke up and they're like, oh God, man, I feel awful, I don't feel good. But guess what? I got up, took a shower, and went to work. And that's what's expected of you. So, not feeling good is not an excuse. If you have an issue or problem, you're going to have to work out your scheduling problems and your scheduling in general with your cooperating teacher. Exchange contact information. Most people like to text. I know I do. They will probably give you their number and vice versa, and you could just text. If something really did happen, you really were sick, there really was an accident, and you got stuck in traffic. These things have happened in the last little bit, especially to my student teachers. Things happen, we understand. However, if you make a plan with the teacher, they're expecting you to be there, and they may have something for you to do that day, like work with a group or help them with something. And if they're counting on you and then you don't come, then that's a problem. Overall professionalism. You are a guest in the school. Please remember that. The school does not have to take clinical students. The teacher does not have to take clinical students. You are a guest there, and you need to act as one. You have to follow all the school rules. That means if teachers don't have drinks in the classroom, don't carry in a giant coffee, because it's a school rule. I know I had a principal call me that was pretty aggravated at one of my students a few years back because they were in the hallway with like a sucker in their mouth all the time or some sort of candy. And one of the school rules was you don't have candy. It was an elementary school, except she just had candy all the time. So I really had to talk to her about it. Don't make me have these like uncomfortable, weird conversations with you for not following rules. Who in here has their ID badge or has an ID badge? Okay, the ID office is over in the library, in Drinko Library. Before you start, everyone in this room has to have an ID badge, and you have to have it on. When I go in schools to supervise students, I have an ID badge I clip on. You will walk in and you will see all teachers, all administrators, all service personnel. They will have some sort of identification badge. You have to have it as well. I think it's $5, and it's at the Drinko over here at the new library. You need to build professional relationships. So often, a student will go in for a level 1 and they just really click with the teacher and they get along really well. And that teacher will send me an email and say, when you're placing them for level 2 or when you're placing them for another clinical, I'd really love to have them back. Okay? If you go somewhere here for level 1 and the teacher really wants to have you for student teaching, I will take that request. They used to not do that, but I will definitely take that into consideration. So remember that. This is a great opportunity for you to build those professional relationships and get started and maybe get your foot in the door somewhere. Okay. All right. So with the placements, I have emailed everyone in here multiple times about placements. And most people in this room have sent me something back, given me some idea of where they would like to be, or if they have transportation issues, or I really want to do my clinicals in my hometown because I'm home on Fridays and I can stay all day. Those sorts of requests I always take into consideration. If you know a particular teacher you want to work with, I always take those into consideration. Am I always able to make those accommodations? No. Because sometimes schools aren't taking students, or teachers aren't taking students. But I try to work it out. We like to use a diversity of placements. That means wherever you are for this one, we don't want you to go there for your level 2s, or do every single clinical at the same school. We like for you to see different schools. Also, if you have other clinical placements, if you have other special ed clinical experiences or other clinical experiences that you're doing this semester, I try to make them all at the same place. It's better for everybody. It's easier for you, it's easier for me, it's easier for the other teachers. So when I send out those requests to you, that's why I try to get that information back. Okay. Okay. All right, so first day of school reminders before you go to your placements. You're going to, first off, you're going to contact your teacher because I'm going to send you that information. You're going to check in at the school office. If you see the principal, please introduce yourself to the principal or any other adult supervisors or faculty that might be in the office. Just introduce yourself. You need to take a copy of your background check. If you ordered it from Castle Branch, you can print it off from there. And just take it, I would take a binder, you know, you're gonna be taking notes anyway, so make sure you have a copy of that to keep. You're gonna wear your ID badge, you're gonna dress professionally, you're gonna be on time, the time that you and the teacher have discussed, and you're gonna listen and learn. That's the most important thing. Now, if you have not completed your background check, and it is not showing as in process or processed with me on my spreadsheet, my secretary updates that every day now, I will not send you a placement. I'm going to start sending those placements out on Wednesday because I want to ensure that you have attended the orientation. And for people, I have to go through the list on Wednesday morning of who went to the orientation on either Monday or Tuesday. And if people had class on both those times, then I'm going to give them an alternate assignment for the orientation. If you notice, there's a camera right there and to watch video and answer some questions and do some things like that. So everyone will have to attend the orientation in one way or another. But if you do not have that background check on file with my office, you will not receive a placement. And if you've never responded to me regarding a request or where you would like to be placed, you are going to be last on the list. So you need to respond to me if you have not done so. Okay, I've got you blocked off in a certain color on the spreadsheet. All right, live text. In order to receive credit for the clinical, you have to track all of your hours through live text. Has everyone in here used live text for one reason or another? Okay. At the top of the page, when you log in, there will be a tab that says Field Experience. That is where the timesheet for this clinical was found. So you'll have to click the Field Experience tab, and then the time log will come up on the right side of the screen. There'll be a placement that'll come up, and it'll say View Placement, and you'll click it, and then that will come up on the right side of the screen. And that is where you log your time. So it must be logged and approved by the cooperating teacher. Every semester, we have people who log their time, but their cooperating teacher does not approve it. And guess what? I call them, and I email them, and I call the student, and I tell them what's going on, and I tell them to get a hold of the teacher. And if nobody gets back in touch with me, you don't get any credit when I turn in grades. Okay, and then we have to go through and do this whole grade change, and it's a major hassle. Okay, so prior to December 5th, you need to have these hours completed. That's 2 months. You have 2 months to do 35 hours. That's more than enough time. You have to have these hours logged, and your teacher has to approve your time log. There is also a short evaluation survey on there that they just open up and click. It's a rubric. It's basically about professional dress and professionalism and attendance and all the things we talk about at this orientation. That's what you're going to be scored on. And it's basically a yes or a no. You either had this or you didn't. You have, following your experience, I will send you a survey link, and you will need to complete that survey as well for me. Okay, it's very brief. It will take you 3 minutes at the most. But if it comes up and it's looking like you are not going to get those hours by December 5th, you need to contact me personally, and you need to tell me what's going on. I'm just going to say this, music students have a lot of hours, and I know that. We know that just because we work with you every semester. So it may run up to where you're in a pinch, and if that happens, we will extend that time. We turn in grades, Candace, is that December 15th, we like to have the grades done by 15th, yes. So that gives you 10 extra days. more than enough time if you run into a problem. Now, periodically, I will be checking our time in live checks to make sure that you're logging time. And if I check on November 1st and you have 0 hours, I'm going to contact you and say, why do you have 0 hours? Okay. You need to read all the emails I send to you from now on very carefully, because they will be very explicit with instructions of how to contact your teacher, what dates you need to have that done by. All of that information will be on those emails. Okay. All right, ADME 4. Would you like to talk about this? Would you like to cover it? I'm going to let Candace.
Down dates that we need to talk about.
Yeah, I'm going to let Candace Rowe go over the ADME 4 status. Who in here has applied for ADME 4 and completed their portfolio? Okay. A few. So we will talk about that.
Here it is. So the portfolio that was due yesterday. Anybody who is in EDF 270 won't get ADME 4 status until grades roll. So everybody is in that very same situation. That does not mean you cannot take ADME 4 courses in the spring. What that means is when you get your grade and you get credit for 270 and 201, sometime in December, you'll be able to register then for ADME 4 courses. Because we get students panicked every semester, I need in my ADME 4 courses. Everyone in EDF 201 and everyone in 270 is in the same exact situation. So there's over 100.
Over 100, yeah.
So when the time comes to register, absolutely register for classes knowing that you can add, drop, and pick up those ADME 4 courses. Will some of those courses be closed by the time you register? Probably. But we'll have a waiting list in the Scopes office. You can put your name on the waiting list. If it's something that you absolutely need in order to graduate down the road, this is probably not the situation with you guys, but if it's something that you feel like you absolutely have to have, we'll do the best we can to get you in it, but there's no guarantees. Now, for those of you who turned in the writing sample, we will not know the scores. That's what I was writing down. They're not due back to us until the 13th. So on October 13th, you should hopefully be able to look on LiveText and see what you scored on the writing sample for the portfolio. A grade of 9 is passing. Anything below 9, you will have to resubmit. Okay? But no one will know their scores. The 13th will be the very, did you say
The soonest.
The soonest will be the 13th that you guys know. If you haven't passed your praxis yet, you have till December to pass your praxis core. So don't panic because of that. As long as we get it in before we leave for break in December, we'll get you that ADME 4 status. Questions about the portfolio? Questions about registration? Anything at all?
I see a lot of blank looks. Do you guys know what ADME 4 means? Yes. Okay. So if you look up there, in order to get that status to be able to take those classes that are listed as ADME 4, you have to successfully complete this clinical. You have to earn a grade of C or better in EDF 201. You have to have at least a 2.8 GPA and a 3.0 in your professional ed classes. You have to successfully complete all 3 sections of the Praxis Core unless you received a 26 or above on the ACT, and then that's waived. And then you cannot proceed with these courses until you're ADME 4 status. All right. Okay. The next slide talks more about the portfolio. Oh, sorry. I went back.
And then I will say this, for those of you who maybe do not earn ADME 4 status, you've applied but you haven't earned it by December, we will have an appeal. You'll have the opportunity to meet with the Teacher Education Standards Committee. It's the Friday before classes start in the spring. So if it's imperative that you take an ADME 4 course but you don't have ADME 4 status, you can appeal, but you'll need to do that by I think that's December 15th.
December 15th, and I actually have a sheet on that. If you know for sure you are going to appeal, you can pick that up with me after this orientation as well. So the ADME 4 portfolio that we were talking about, you have to complete the disposition assessment, 3 recommendations for admission, and a writing sample. And this is in addition to the praxis score, the GPA, and the 201, 270 requirements. All right. Okay. I have a really hokey video, but I'm not going to force you to watch it. I am going to send you this PowerPoint though, so you can watch it at home. It's really sweet. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, this is your time for the good of the group. Anybody have any questions? I see a hand. Yes.
Is there any requirement in terms of like immunizations? I know before someone that was taking this clinical told me about a TB test.
That's a great question. Last year we do not require a TB test. So if you would go to a school and they would ask about that, which all of our schools are pretty much know and they're on board in their schools, we use all the time, just say that that's no longer required by the state. Actually, the State Department called me and said I didn't have to require it anymore. So, and you can always refer any questions to me from
Thank you.
principals. Thank you. Yes.
The ID badge, like
Yes.
the Emory School, is that the same as like your Marshall ID? Is it like different?
It's a little different. You'll go over to the ID office and just tell them you need a clinical ID badge for College of Ed. And it hangs vertically, has a little clasp on it. They'll put your picture on it and your name. Okay, yes.
I have an ID badge from the Heart Tutor program. Do I need to get a different one, or can I use that?
I think you can probably use your Heart Tutor badge, yeah. As long as it has your picture on it, yeah, that's fine. We've had that before, I've forgotten about that. Any other questions? None at all? One of the questions that sometimes comes up too is about special dress-up days, especially this time of year. It's Spirit Weeks and Halloween and things like that. If your school is dressing up and your teacher's dressing up, you guys have a conversation. I think it's more than appropriate for you to dress up as long as it is an appropriate costume or an appropriate dress. And if you have any questions about what's appropriate, I can always fill you in. We are not expecting, I'll just say this, you need to look at the culture of your school. We are not expecting you to wear skirts and high heels and ties and all of these things. But you can dress nicely without spending a whole lot of money or any money at all really, and look professional. Like I said, especially if you're in a secondary school, adults coming in need to be able to distinguish you from the other students in the classroom. That's really important. Okay. Anybody else have any more questions for the good of the group? If you have some personal questions that you would like to ask me afterwards, I'm more than happy to help. I will email everyone this PowerPoint just for your reference, and then I'm going to email you a website that we use. It's our PLC website. If you would like to visit it to revisit this video, anything I've said that you need to pick back up on. And then on Wednesday morning, I will begin sending out placements. If you receive your placement Wednesday morning, there's going to be a date on there that you need to contact the school by a certain date. If you do not do that, you don't have a placement. They don't have to take you, okay? So you need to start checking your emails frequently beginning on Wednesday, especially if you have everything submitted. If you have your background check submitted and you have already contacted me and told me where you'd like to be, definitely start checking on Wednesday morning, okay? Anybody else? All right, if you guys need to talk to me by yourselves, you can. If not, you're free to go. Thanks so much for coming. Make sure you signed in out front. If you did not, you will not get credit for being here. Thank you.
So like I have to